Welcome to Office 2016 video number 12. Hey, in this video, we're going to see how to create a PowerPoint presentation where we insert pictures, links, and videos. Here are all of our topics for this PowerPoint video. We first got to go over to our class website because the very first thing we need to do is go to this PowerPoint section of our website and download this video Excel file and 2 pictures. These are the things we're going to insert into our PowerPoint presentation. All right, I'm going to right-click Save Link As, or you guys know how to download by now. Let's download all 4 files, and we're going to definitely save them, not to our Word folders, but we're going to save them to our PowerPoint folders. So there's the name of the video. That is fine. I'm going to click Save. Right-click the Excel, Save Link As. It's got the right location. The file name and the extension are fine. Click Save. Right-click Save Link As. In fact, I can just hit Enter. Right-click Save Link As. Of course, I can hit Enter because it remembers the file path. The file name is OK. Extension is OK. And of course, the highlighted button can be enacted with our Enter key. Now we need to open up PowerPoint. And I do not see PowerPoint on my taskbar. So I go to the Start menu, or I use the Window key in any Windows operating system. I type PowerPoint. And there I see it. Now I'm going to right-click and pin to taskbar. Escape. Now I see PowerPoint, so I open it up, a blank PowerPoint. We can use our same trick as we did in Word, and we'll be able to use in Excel, Escape, to get to a blank file. Now the very first thing we want to do is F12. And we're going to navigate down to Video Files, PowerPoint. So the location is PowerPoint. I'm going to click down here, the file name, Business 216 Presentation. .pptx is fine. By the way, that T does not mean template like it did with a Word document and like it does with Excel. That's just PowerPoint with a T. I'm going to click Save or hit Enter. All right, so when we open up a blank PowerPoint presentation, it's blank, it's white. And over here we can see it's a title slide. I'm going to click to add. It's kind of polite. It says click to add title. So I'm going to click and type Business 216. Now it says click to add a subtitle. If you like creating your PowerPoint in what's called a placeholder, you can use Control-Enter to get to the next placeholder. Control-Enter. We're going to put by your name. Where it says your name, I want you to put your name. Now if you're in the last placeholder, in the last slide, when you Control-Enter, it adds a new slide. Now, there's a few other ways we can add new slides. One is there's a keyboard. I don't even know if I should show it to you. I think if you hover your cursor up here, it tells you it's Control-M. But if your cursor's over here, you can simply hit the Enter key. Enter, Enter. Now, Enter is good, and we'll actually do this later in the presentation, because I can click between any slide. And now if I hit Enter, it adds a slide right there. Now I'm going to click in slide number 3, Control-Shift-End, and delete. Now I want to come over here, and we're going to use what's called the Slide Pane over here and our placeholders. And we're going to have a slide that lists the topics. Control-Enter. Our topics are going to be Windows Explorer, Enter. PowerPoint, Enter. Excel, and Enter. Now, just like our bulleted and numbered and multi-level lists in Word, every time we use Enter, it adds a new bullet. We can also edit this list, just like we did over in Word. After Windows Explorer, I hit Enter because we forgot Word. After Excel, we forgot Enter Access. Now we're going to create a few of our slides using the slide pane, but I got to show you how to use the outline pane. Now if we go up to the View Ribbon tab, there's a bunch of different views we can have. We're in normal or slide pane. If we click on outline, we have an entirely different view. This view is exactly like our multi-level list. We can literally type out the entire presentation here just like we did in Word. Now, I got to show you a great trick. And what I want to do is I want to highlight these 5 bullets, and I'm going to copy them using Control-C. Now, I can click at the end or Control-End, and notice I'm right below axis, and there's a new bullet. I'm going to Control-V. Now, the reason I did this is because if I highlight these 4 bullets, either with my I-beam or Shift or Control-Shift-End, if I were to tab, they'd go in a level, which would be ridiculous. They'd all be below axis. But in outline view, I can Shift-Tab, Shift-Tab, and create from a bunch of bullets a bunch of slide titles. I can see over here there's Word. If I click on PowerPoint, Excel, I can see I have a bunch of new slides now. Now, actually, I highlighted too far down, so I have an empty slide. But if I'm at the end of axis, I can simply hit Delete, and it gets rid of that. Now, I'm going to type a little bit here just like we would in a word list. Enter. Notice it's a slide. Tab. Now it's a bullet. File Management. Enter. Examples, colon, Enter. Tab moves in a level. System of folders, Enter. Copy, paste, move, delete, backup files. Now I'm going to do one more over here in the outline view, and then we'll go and do a few over in the slide pane view also. So I'm at the end of Excel, Enter, Tab to move in a level. Excel does 2 main things, Enter, Tab, calculations, Enter, data analysis. Look at that, red lines in both places. Right-click, calculations. Now, I kind of like typing out here in outline view because I can simply use Tab and Shift-Tab. The Tab and Shift-Tab will work over here also. They just don't go up a level to get you to a new slide. Now, let's go back to normal view. And if I'm in Word here, I'm going to click to add some text. Create documents like resumes. Now, I'd actually like to add a slide in between Word and PowerPoint. So I'm simply going to click between the two. I see that orange line. I hit Enter. Now I'm going to click to add a title, Examples in Word. Now for this particular slide, I don't want the default layout, which is a title and a content placeholder. I actually want 2 placeholders because I'm going to put 2 pictures here. So I'm going to go over to Home, Slides Group, Layout dropdown. And we could use 2 content, but I want to use what's called comparison. I'm going to click because that'll let me put some titles and then some content where we're going to put our pictures. I'm going to click to add a title, research paper. I'm going to click to add the second title here, business letter. Now, adding content is as easy as clicking one of these. If we wanted a video, we click here. If we want a picture, I click right here. Now, we already downloaded our picture, so when I click this picture icon, I have to navigate down to PowerPoint. And there's our 2 pictures. I'm going to double-click research paper. And look at that. Now I'm going to click over here on this placeholder and insert a picture. I'm clicking on the picture icon. Double-click business letter. All right, now down to PowerPoint. Create presentations to deliver a message. Now I'm going to go down to Excel here. And we're going to add a picture here later, but we're not going to use the 2 content holders. I want to click right after Excel. And there's that orange line and hit Enter. I'm going to click up in Title. So Excel, making calculations with the sum function. We're going to insert a video. Now, down here we have our content. And this is so cool. Insert a video. We're allowed to get from a file, which we do have one, Then I'll show you how to insert a YouTube video. But let's try Browse. I'm going to click Browse. We want to come over and drill down to our PowerPoint folder. And we have downloaded this video file. I'm going to double click. Now PowerPoint is upgrading this. It takes just a second. And already we can actually click this. Our goal is to add and play it right in the PowerPoint. Now there are some tools available. If you go up to Video Tools, Playback, you can actually click Trim, and it's really quite easy. I'm going to show you how to trim, and then we're going to undo it. I'm simply going to select a particular section I want, click OK. And now that video, which might have been too long, function, Alt-E, is much shorter. There are some other tools up here if you want to play around with them. I'm going to Control-Z. Now we'll see that that can play when we later play our presentation. Now I'm going to scroll down, and right after the Excel video slide, I'm going to hit Enter to add a new slide. Click up here. Excel performing data analysis with Power Query. Now, we want to use some keyboards here that we learned in Word. I don't want to have to highlight everything and then go guessing about the font size to fit it to this title. So I'm going to Control-A to select everything and Control open square bracket to increment down. And just like that, we best fit to that title. Now, this one we're going to click the Insert Video. And if you have embed code from somewhere, you can paste it here. All right, we're going to search YouTube and find a video and insert it into our PowerPoint. Introduction to Power Query and Power Pivot. I'm going to hit Enter. There's the video I want. I'm going to double click it. And just like that, it inserted our video from YouTube into our PowerPoint. When we play the PowerPoint presentation, you'll see that we can have the option to play this. Now, I want to show you a method of playing the presentation while you're editing. Now, last video we saw that we can go up to Slideshow and click from beginning or use F5, or from current slide or use Shift F5. The beauty of Shift F5 is as you're editing, we can check to see what it looks like when the presentation is played. So I have this slide selected. I'm going to Shift F5. And sure enough, look at that. Welcome to Excel Magic Trick number 1400. And then I click on the video to turn it off. Now that means we totally have the ability to insert a video from YouTube. Now I'm going to click Escape and get back to editing mode. Now I'm going to come back to the Excel slide, and I'm going to click in the placeholder, and I'm allowed to change the position. So I'm clicking and dragging. Now I want to add a picture here, but it's going to be linked to Excel. So if I change anything back in Excel, like the numbers in the sales table, when I open up the PowerPoint presentation, it will update with the latest numbers. Now let's go over to our PowerPoint folder. There's PowerPoint, and there's the sales table. We're going to open up this Excel workbook. Double click to open it. Now all we want to do, it looks like I left a randomizing formula in there. Here's a fun trick. If you hit the F9 key, the numbers will keep changing here. Now I'm going to highlight, and this is Excel, so I use my selection cursor. I click and drag to highlight a number of cells. Now I'm going to use Control-C, and how cool is that? Control-C over in Excel gives us a bunch of dancing ants. The dancing ants say, hey, I've copied this. Now I want to go back to PowerPoint. I'm going to click down here, or Alt-Tab, Tab to get back to PowerPoint, and let go. Now the slide is selected, and I want to paste it, but in a special way. So I'm going up to the Home Clipboard group. Now the trick we're about to learn works in Word and Excel also. And it's a useful trick because when I paste the Excel table here, if the numbers change over in Excel, those numbers will always update over here in PowerPoint. Again, the same thing would work if we did this in Word. Go to the clipboard group, drop down for paste, and then click on the words paste special. Now we get this dialog box. This has been around forever. You want to remember to click paste link. Oftentimes when people paste and they're intending to do a paste link, they just forget and click OK. Click that link. That's what links the two files so that anytime something changes in Excel, it'll change here in PowerPoint. So that's it. I click OK. Now there's a little picture. And just as we did in Word, we can point to one of the corners and click and drag. Now I'm going to use my move cursor. There's my move cursor to click and drag. And watch what happens. I get like these little red lines helping me line things up. That is so cool. All right, right about there. Now let's test this. There's the numbers. Alt-Tab to go back over to Excel. I'm going to hit the F9 key. And the top number is now 2011, and the next number is 757. Alt-Tab, sure enough. Now, if I Alt-Tab and go back to Excel, because we have a link, these two files are connected. I'm going to close this either with a green X or Alt-F4. I'm going to save it. And now we can see the numbers are there. I want to save this presentation, so Control-S. And I want to close the presentation before we finish. We haven't added any of the themes and transition. I want to close it, so I'm going to use the red X or Alt-F4. And there's our PowerPoint presentation. That PowerPoint presentation and that Excel workbook are now communicating with each other. When I double-click and open this PowerPoint, it will ask me if I want to update links. But before I do that, I'm going to open up the Excel table. I'm going to double-click. And now we see we have some new numbers. I'm going to Control-S, close this, the X or Alt-F4. Now, they're communicating with each other, so when I double-click the PowerPoint presentation to open, look at that, I get a message. You may get a slightly different message, but it says, do you want to update links? Yes, I want to update, so I'm going to click Update. And I'm going to click this Enable Content. And if I scroll down, sure enough, the numbers have changed. That is Paste Special Link. There's actually a picture of that dialog box in the PDF notes. Now, we want to add a theme so that we have consistent design or theme throughout all the slides. Up in Design, we can pick different themes. We can click the More button. Now, I want to try and find, you see the screen tip says this is the Gallery theme. I'm going to click on that one. If you don't have Gallery, don't worry about it. Pick a different one. And just like that, just as we saw in last video, adding a theme to all the slides is easy. Notice, for a theme, we only had to click on the particular theme, and it did it to all the slides. Now, I want to scroll up and click on the top slide, and we want to look at transitions now. Transitions will be the movement between the slides. So during the slide presentation, it's the movement as we go from one slide to the next. Now we can select whichever one we want. Let's try Cover. Let's try Uncover. Oh, well, I'm going to select the second one to show you what Uncover does. Uncover takes the one that was on top and moves it to the left. Cover takes the next one and brings it on top. You might pick something like curtains. Oh, but curtains and a few others are really slow. So you want to make sure and come over to timing. And we might change this to 2. We also might want a sound. I'm going to click the drop down. You want to be careful with sound. If it's a PowerPoint presentation about finance, maybe cash register would be OK. I don't think a PowerPoint presentation about Office would work well with cash register. Drum roll might be too much. Explosion, no, not that one. I'm going to come down and choose whoosh. Now, the thing about transitions and any sound is we can see over here I have 2 stars because I added something there. And then when I went to the next one, I added that sound and the transition here. But I want to make sure and select whatever I'm going to select. I see curtains and the sound, and then click Apply to All. As soon as I click Apply to All, I see there's stars on all of them. Now let's try it. I'm going to, with slide 2 selected, use Shift F5. Oh, I don't think I like that. Escape. I'm going to try Uncover. All right, and I think I'm going to change the sound. I'm going to try Click. Now be sure to select Apply to All. Now I'm going to try it. Shift F5. All right, I'm going to use the arrow key, forward arrow. OK. And then, of course, as we saw last video, the up arrow goes backwards. The down arrow goes forward. I'm going to click Escape. So we've added a transition with a sound to all the slides. Now, animation. In earlier versions of PowerPoint, it was just like transition. You could click on an animation and all the slides would get it. But that feature is not here anymore. You are supposed to go to each individual slide and click on different elements and add animation. Well, that would take a long time if you have a lot of slides. So we want to learn about something called a Slide Master. I clicked on the top one. And Slide Master, I go to View. Now, there's some different views we saw over here. Slide Master. Let's click that. What Slide Master does is it gives you one of each layout. And I'm going to select the default layout, which is for most of our slides in our PowerPoint presentation. And anything we do to this slide will happen on all the slides. So if I want the title to fly in, and I want the bullets to fly in, and I don't want to have to do it to each individual slide, that's where the Slide Master comes in. Now I'm going to click on the title. And now I'm in Slide Master view. I can see this tab. There's that red X. But now I need to go over to Animations. Now, animations are up here. And you can try different ones if you want. I'm going to keep it simple. Click Fly In. Whoa, it came up from the bottom. I don't want that. So I come over and Effect Options. I'm going to say From the Left. Now, there's a 1 there, which says that's the first animation. Now, I'm going to click on the placeholder for our bullets. I'm going to click Fly In. Come over and say Effects, From the Left. 1, 2. The fact that all of these 2s are 2s means they'll all fly in together. With the placeholder selected, if you come over to timing, you can change the timing too, but we're not going to do that. You can say On Click. And when I click on it this second time, even though it was there before, now I see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now it means all of these items will be dependent on whether we use spacebar, enter, or forward arrow to advance the slide presentation. So each one of these bullets will come in when we hit our forward arrow. Now, if we go and play this, the fact that there's a 1 there means when I go from one slide to the next using our transition, it will require that I hit the arrow key to get the title to fly in. And I don't want that. So I'm very carefully going to click on the placeholder for title, go over to timing, and instead of On Click, I'm going to say After Previous. When you say After Previous, there's a 0 here. That means that that will fly in after the last item, which for us will be the previous slide. Now remember, we're in Slide Master. We're currently on the Animations tab, but now I want to go over to Slide Master. Now go over to Close Slide Master. Now we can play our presentation. I'm going to hit F5 from the beginning. Now notice the first slide doesn't have any animation because that's a different layout. But that may or may not be OK. For us, it's fine. That's going to be the title slide. But now when I hit my forward arrow, the next slide pops up and our topics flies in. Remember, that was animation 0. but none of the other ones did. Now I can use my arrow key, Windows Explorer, arrow key, Word, arrow key, arrow key, arrow key. Now when I hit arrow key, it'll bring in the next slide, and I see Windows Explorer. So that's how we can add animation. I'm going to click Escape. Now, if I go down to Examples in Word and hit Shift F5, look at that. That has no animation because that was a different layout. We had comparison. Now, I kind of like this because the previous slide will have our bullets, and when we get to this slide, there'll just be 2 examples. If you wanted to add animation, Escape, you go up to View, Slide Master. And there you can see, because we had that slide selected, it's already selected. If we scroll up, there's all the different layouts. So you could go through and add animation to whatever elements in this layout. I'm going to close the Slide Master. The one slide that's going to give us trouble is this one right here. First off, I don't like that table touching that line, so I'm going to click on it. This is a slide. I can use my Move cursor and drag it down. If I do Shift F5, the title is working, and I can get my bullets to fly in. I'm going to click Escape. This is a case where we might want to add animation to the individual slide. So now I go up to Animations. If I were to have background selected, there's no animation. But once I click on the object, I can go up and say Fly In. Fly In. I'm actually going to put this Effects Fly In from the right. Now let's Shift F5. The title flies in. Down arrow, down arrow, down arrow, and another down arrow, and boom, our picture is flying in. Now, Escape. What we always want to do is make sure and run the entire PowerPoint presentation. Oh, I can already see a problem down here. Access. I'm going to click here. Access is a database. Enter. All databases do 2 main things. Enter, tab. Store raw data, enter. Create useful information from raw data. Now I want to start the PowerPoint presentation from the beginning and run the whole thing. We want to do that because as the creators, we need to make sure everything's working right when we're doing the presentation. F5 key starts it from the beginning. I'm going to use the arrow keys. Remember, I could use space. I could use Enter. I could use my mouse. But the arrow keys, if I use forward arrow, it brings in the next item. Backward arrow goes backwards. So I'm using my arrow key to just look through the presentation to see if everything's working. Look at that. That picture's coming in just fine. Now here's where the video is. We now have the choice. We can click. Our goal is to add January. So we use the keyboard for the sum function, Alt equals. Now I'm going to click on the video to stop it. We could play the whole thing, but I'm going to use my forward arrows. Our goal is to. Now we can click and play our video. Welcome to Excel Magic Trick number 1. Click to stop. I'm going to click off to the side with my mouse to forward. I don't know what's going on there. Then we do our forward arrows. It tells us end of slideshow. I click Escape. 2 more important things. Back in View, over in Presentation View, you can click Slide Sorter and actually see all the slides and even click on the little stars to play. But we want to look at Notes pages. Now, Notes pages, over here we can scroll. And we see as we scroll up or use our arrow key, each slide is on a single page. And you can actually click below and type notes. Now, this is for when you're giving the presentation and you might have some other notes you want to prompt you while you're giving the presentation. You would not want to read from this, although some people do. Right? So that is notes page. You can put notes for each particular slide. Now I'm going to go back to normal view. Control P is the same over here as it is in Excel and Word and many programs to print. Now what we want to see is I want to go look at Edit, Header, and Footer. So I'm going to click Edit, Header, and Footer. What's important oftentimes with PowerPoint presentation is we want the slide number. Now that's going to put it on the individual slide. And that slide number shows up in totally different places depending on the theme you chose. Now that'll put it on the slide. I want to come over to Notes and Handouts because oftentimes handouts, we print out 4 PowerPoints per page. So I definitely want a page on the handout also. Click Apply to All. You can see for this theme, they put the page number right there. For other themes, they put the page number down at the bottom. Now I want to come over and I want to look at slides. Click the drop down, and there's some different options here. I'm going to select 4 slides. And this is portrait. The slides don't actually turn out to be as big as they could be if this was landscape. So we want to come over and orientation. We click the drop down and select landscape. Now, the weird thing is here in print preview is I see 1, 2, 3, 4. But I don't see the page number for the actual handout. And the problem is coming from the actual Slide Master for handout. So I'm going to click Escape. And now we want to go up to View. Here's our masters. There is Handout Master. I'm going to click on that. And down at the bottom, it's for some reason is too low. Now I want to select the edge of the placeholder. And I want to click holding Control and click on the other edge of the placeholder. And I want to use my arrow. I clicked on them both because if I decide to have a footer in this, I want them lined up. So now, with both selected, I'm going to use my arrow key on the number pad. I'm using my arrow key to increment up. Now there should be enough room. Close the master. Control P. And look at that. That actually happens in a number of the different themes. But there you go. Now we can click forward, and we see all of our PowerPoint slides printing out 4 per page. Escape. All right, Control S. That was a lot of fun with PowerPoint. We saw how to use the slide pane over in View. We also saw how to use the outline view to type just like it was a multi-level list over in Word. Click back on Normal View. We added over in Design a theme. In Transitions, we added a Transitions, remembering to click Apply All. When we applied animations, we were sure to go and open the Slide Master first so that the animation would go to all the slides for a particular layout. Then we also saw how to insert some pictures. We saw how to insert a paste special link. We also saw how to insert a video file that we had, and we even saw how to embed a YouTube video. Then, of course, we also saw how to use F5 and Shift F5 to play our PowerPoint presentations, and then the arrow keys to move forwards and backwards. All right, that was a lot of fun with PowerPoint. That's the last video for PowerPoint. Next video, we'll start studying Excel. All right, I cannot wait until the next video. See you next video.